as a new republic, there is of necessity the need for much to change. Over the past 55 years, we have seen our country dominated by two political parties, both of whom seem to think that they have an exclusive right to govern the nation of Barbados. I want to remind all and sundry that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, not the Labour Party or the Dems. And Barbados belongs to a part of that world. And you have been given the privilege to govern the affairs of this country, not because you think you have an inalienable right to do so, but because the God that this nation has repeatedly expressed its service to in its national anthem has afforded you the privilege to do so. We seem to think that when we rise to offices of power in this nation, we become demigods. May I remind everyone, every person offering themselves for political office in this country, that the people are your employers and you are employed by the people of Barbados. This is a critical moment in the history of this country, where it is important for a major paradigm shift in how business is done in the political arena of Barbados. Every 5 years, persons come to you to ask for your vote. And it is a common knowledge and practice in this country. And you as constituents can bear testimony and witness to it, that you often do not see them again until the next general election. No one comes to ask your opinion. No one comes to ask your view of any decision made that will result in significant shifts and changes, both in the values and in the substance of our country. But decisions are made without your consultation that can result in dramatic shifts in the future of your life and the life of your family. We in the Alliance Party for Progress wish to have a discussion, a conversation with the members of our constituencies. We are not here to impose upon you our views or our ideas. We are here to hear from you as the people on the ground facing the challenges that you encounter on a day-to-day basis, both on a constituency level and on a national level, that we can put our collective capacities together to govern our nation. We wish this for real, genuine change, and not just about a matter of representing you in the House of Assembly. There must be a shift in the relationship between the electorate and persons who are sent to Parliament. You must require of those who offer themselves to you to be your representatives that they're on a regular basis meet with you in one way or the other to hear what is happening in your life, in your space, and in your community. To that end, if I am elected as your representative in the House of Assembly on the 19th of January 2022, I commit myself to the establishing of a network of nodules throughout this constituency, coming from each community, where you will select from your community, Golden Ridge, Sweet Vale, Newberry, Retreat, Fort Cottage, ruins. Each community will select a representative whom they will share their concerns with, and that representative will be a part of a council established by myself to serve the constituency and to communicate the needs of the people to me as your representative, that I may present those needs on your behalf in the House of Assembly. This is a major shift in the paradigm of politics that grants the honor and privilege and the right of inclusiveness to every citizen, every member of a constituency. I ask you today, if you were consulted at any time when the decision was made for Barbados to become a republic, did anyone come and ask you your view? Did anyone come and ask you your opinion? Did anyone come and ask you or tell you, if we become a republic, this is what it means? Did anyone do that? But these people are your servants, not your masters. The masters are the persons who voted for them and placed them in their high office. Who asked you then about how you felt about becoming a republic? Let it not be thought that I am against being a republic. I'm not, any more than I'm against us becoming independent. But there is a respect and a process that ought to have been afforded to the people of our country, no matter what persons in Parliament thought was their right to do. Persons over the past 55 years who have represented constituencies in this country only walk through these roads in Golden Ridge once every 5 years. How in the name of God can you serve the people of a community by engaging them in casual conversation once every 5 years? I apologize to you for not being able to come through and meet you and talk with you and find out your concerns, as has always been my practice as a minister of the gospel, to find out the needs of people and not to assume that this is what they need. Some years ago, when my wife and I returned from Trinidad and Tobago with my family, we sought to find out what the young people who were troubled in this nation would need. As a result, we invited a well-known gang in this country, the leader and a couple of his cohorts, into our home. And people thought we were insane. People thought we were mad. And we sat and we talked with those three gang members. One who had a Glock, one had a Collins, and one had a Bowie knife. And people thought we were insane to have them in our home because they could have killed us. I didn't think so. I wasn't afraid, and neither was my wife. And as a matter of fact, we were pleasantly surprised that they accepted our invitation to come and sit with us to discuss what they felt were the needs of the youth of this country. And for approximately 2 hours, my wife and I conversed with these three gentlemen, young people, learning how they were abused in their homes, learning how they were threatened and how they were beaten. How the one with the Collins said he got that Collins when he was 11 years old as a result of suffering at the hands of his stepfather. And he vowed that the next person that hit him, that Collins is what they would feel. We have a lot of young people in this country that are very angry. They're angry because of how they have been treated in their households. And while we are critical of the bloc, that is where they find their solace, and that is where they find their family that they should have found. in their households. But I asked the question of the gang leader, having gone through the 2-hour discussion with him, what he felt was the major need of the people, of the young people of our country. And both my wife and I were pleasantly surprised when he said, God. God. You heard me right. God. G-O-D, God. And I asked him, sir, why would you say God? Why would you think that the greatest need of our people is God? He looked at me and he said, sir, because if it was not for God, we would self-destruct. I was pleasantly surprised with that aspect. I discovered and understood that our young people were looking for an escape process in order to make, this thing is cutting out a lot, man. In order to make something of their lives. I remember walking through one of the communities a few days ago and meeting a young man who had indicated to me that his life was now so dramatically changed as a result of the use of drugs. And as a result of that, we now have a young man without a dream or a future when it came to his own personal life. We must have in our country a significant shift in how we do politics in this nation. I have chosen to avoid the attraction of crowds or to invite persons to leave their homes and come and stand for a spot meeting because of our concern as a nation with our current crisis and pandemic. But I have observed several candidates in the major parties of this country holding their mass meetings and ignoring the very protocol, the mass social distancing and the sanitizing of our hands. I watched in amazement as persons speaking from political platforms getting an excitable response. Individuals jumping up and hugging up one another, and not a word of counsel or advice given from the platform. I deem that to be a reckless and unwise position. And as such, I have chosen to ask persons to remain in. We are in the safety of your property, as you are unsure as to if or not a variant is out here waiting to infect you. We are told today that Omicron is in Barbados. We are having hundreds of cases per day in this nation. And yet, we do nothing to engage the political process that is currently being followed in this general election. Up to today, I read an article where the EBC has not made provision for the thousands of Barbadians who have tested positive in this country to exercise their constitutional right in voting in this general election. In other words, they have been deprived of their fundamental right as a citizen of this country to determine the governance of this nation. That by itself should cause such a stir in the mind of our leadership that they ought to have suspended and delayed this general election until proper arrangements were capable of being put in place for every eligible citizen to exercise their national and constitutional privilege to vote for the government. Thousands of people are being denied that privilege tonight as I speak to you. But I have not come here tonight to just talk to you about the challenges that we as a nation are facing. I have come tonight to also tell you about what we in the Alliance Party for Progress wish to do for our nation. Our APP or app can be downloaded on the 19th of January to every ballot paper in this country. And we as a political party commit ourselves to engaging the people of Barbados on all critical matters, on all critical matters that would affect the future destiny of this country, our families, and our societies. I want you to understand that there are some processes waiting in the wings that will make provision for your little girl children to be sharing the bathroom with other people's little boy children because of what is referred to as sexual orientation and gender identity. A matter that the United States government sought to tie together with election integrity in the presentation of a resolution in the United Nations that was supposed to address election integrity. Many ambassadors of nations were shocked at the matter and were afraid to confront the government of the United States on the resolution that was passed by consensus, meaning that it was not voted upon. There is no evidence anywhere on planet Earth that at any time anyone was denied the privilege of voting as a result of their gender. Yet the United States tied it together in that resolution. And the reason that many countries decline to oppose America is because she is the largest donor to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, where all of our developing countries are seeking to obtain funding for the development of our economies and our countries. To put it simply, the borrower becomes the servant of the lender. In other words, if you want money from me, you will do as I tell you, and you will put laws in place that I tell you to put in place, or you will not receive the funding that you want. And that, my friend, is what we as a nation are facing tonight. And that, my friend, is why this election is one of the most critical in the history of this country. For if we are not vigilant in the vote that we cast on the 19th of January, we will simply be trading colonial masters from the United Kingdom over to the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the United States. But as the Alliance Party for Progress, we resolve to restore the democracy we once enjoyed. As Abraham Lincoln declared, this nation shall have a new birth of freedom, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. A government of the people, by the people, for the people. Not a government of the parliament, by the parliament, for the parliament. A government of the people, by the people, for the people. I don't want you to forget that phrase when you enter the polling station on the 19th of January, and understand that what you are doing is governing your country as the people, of the people, by the people, for the people. We in the APP resolve to provide a strategic plan and the implementation of that plan for the development of the economy of this country. And that plan will include access for every Barbadian to the rapidly exploding digital and cryptocurrency industry that will give ordinary Barbadians an opportunity to develop wealth and investment, and not simply a minority group of people in our country. Tonight, in another community in which I was speaking, I mentioned how, as a political party, we will make provision for the youth of our country, not only for the development of their skills, but for the capacity to export their product and skills into other parts of the world. And a young lady walked up to me on the completion of my address and said to me, "Thank God, I hear you talk about helping us as young people to develop our abilities. I am a seamstress. I design my own clothes, and I have been wanting to find a way to get my clothes into the international market, that she can benefit from a wealth opportunity where Barbadians, ordinary Barbadians, can ply their trade on the international market. Through technology today, many of you are watching this presentation through a phone or a tablet. This is what we have developed in our country, and this is the medium by which our people will be able to envelop themselves into an opportunity for wealth development and life improvement. We will make sure that they are given access to the same platforms that our banks and insurance companies in this country access, and then want to tell us that if we access it, it's a scam. But they can access it using our deposits, for which we are paid 0% interest, and they can make between 9 to 10% interest. Don't pay you as a client depositing your money on their account a single cent of interest, while their shareholders prosper, benefit, buy land, buy property, and build big houses and drive BMWs and Mercedes-Benz, while you get 0% interest on your savings. We resolve to establish a strong export-driven knowledge economy that would allow Barbadians to become significant players in an $11 trillion digital economy, where our young people deserve to have access to this industry. We resolve to encourage innovation, entrepreneurship. I lived for 3 years in the island of Trinidad and Tobago, and I can tell you from my personal experience that the economy of Trinidad and Tobago is significantly grounded on the entrepreneurial capacity of the citizens of that country. You can walk into a supermarket and find 15 different flavors of pepper sauce by 15 different people. You can find 30 different golden apple, sorrel, ginger beer, beet juice, carrot juice. And talking about beet juice and carrot juice, would it not be a good thing if we could do something about reducing the price of the raw materials to develop our juices, so that rather than having to resort to Fanta, Coke, and Fruity at $1 something a bottle, we can be able to afford our natural juices that are healthy for us for a couple dollars, $2, $2.50, rather than $4.50. We resolve to create platforms for renewable and alternative energy sources. It would be wonderful if Barbadians were compensated and encouraged to place upon their homes solar panels, as I have observed happening in the Cayman Islands, to power their houses with their own electricity and significantly reduce their electric bills in this country. As a matter of fact, not only reduce it, but actually sell power back to the power grid of the electric company. But you can find electric fields being considered across our country for an elite few of people. These things are not right. These things are not just. And this is why I say to you tonight that there is a desperate need for changing the political processes in our country. And by that, I simply mean that we can no longer tolerate persons coming to us and asking us for our vote and not considering us any time between those election periods and having conversations as to what we believe as citizens of this country could be in the best interest of our nation. As this campaign has progressed, I have heard persons chastised for changing political parties and joining other parties. I promised to keep my campaign clean. You will not have heard me speak about a single person, because I have learned in marketing that you don't give your competition as free advertising. That is why when I worked for the brand that I had the privilege of introducing to this country, our advertising never carried our competition in it at all. So that whenever you saw our brand, that is all you saw, our brand. Every citizen in this country, under the protection of the Constitution and under the protection of the Charter of Human Rights, has freedom of association. And when you are not satisfied with how things are going in a particular institution, you are free to leave and join another. Why should persons be castigated for doing so? But this has been the practice of our political directorate for the past 55 years. And I say to you, time has come for significant change and persons to know that they are free to act in that manner without being castigated and maligned and cursed. As a minister of the gospel, I have people coming and going from my church. I don't curse the ones that leave. I don't castigate the ones that leave. That is a privilege and freedom of a democratic society. People are free to leave and join, leave and join, leave and join. We have been advised that in this general election, that the people of our country need to pray for discernment. And that is the one thing that I agree with, expressed by other members of other political parties. We need to pray. As a people of faith, Barbados is soundly grounded in faith in God. And I make no apologies for saying that. If you're not happy with me saying that, then I suggest you migrate to another country. because you will always hear that the Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. We cannot just express it as a stanza in the national anthem. We must mean what we sing. We recognize that it is God that has blessed this country with great leadership, great parties. We cannot be so disingenuous as to ignore the value of what has been transpiring in our country over the past 55 years, but be reminded that it is not solely the skill of individuals or governments that has done that. It has been the smile of the Lord on this country. That is why the writer of the national anthem included it in this nation's stanza. The Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. With him still on the people's side, we have no doubts or fears. Barbadians are afraid of nothing. We punch way above our weight, and we stand our own ground everywhere we go in this world. I watch us migrate to the United States, and while African Americans are quarreling in the United States concerning their law, Barbadians go in and go to work and establish businesses and future for their families and their children. We punch above our weight because we are people of faith. God doesn't want this country to be a theocracy. He wants this nation to be a godly and righteous country where we are adherents to righteousness, justice, and truth. That is what he desires for us as a people. We have been advised to seek discernment. I am told that discernment is the ability to judge well. The ability to judge well. The ability to judge well when you can see things, when you can observe things, you judge well. But there are some aspects where discernment is required for that which you cannot see. It is often has been referred to as gut feeling, and some women speak of it as feminine intuition. In other words, you see something, you can't put your finger on it, you know something is there, but you don't know exactly what it is, but there's something uncomfortable within yourself. And so we need to execute discernment in this election come January the 19th, Wednesday, 2022. We need to see what is operating behind the scenes. I'm told that as we go into this election, that the only thing that is needed for evil men to triumph is for good people to remain silent. We are asking you, as the constituents of St. George North, to let your collective voices be heard next week, Wednesday, January the 19th, concerning the direction that your country is going in, and that you express that by virtue of your vote. Let your voice be heard on the 19th of January when you cast your vote for me, Ferdinand Nicholls. Let your voice be heard in that poll. Let your voice be heard in that station as you mark your X for a new government, a new order of governance of the people, by the people, for the people. Someone once said, "Give me a vote and watch me." I say, give me a vote and watch us, you and me, transform this country. We are told that if we continue to do the same things, the same way, expecting different results, we're nothing short of being insane or mad. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer myself to you tonight to be your representative in the House of Assembly, in our Parliament, on January the 20th, following the election on January the 19th. I commend myself to you, and I ask you for your support in bringing about a transition in our country toward a new form of governance. To that end, I wish to thank you for your time to listen to me tonight. Thank you for your consideration to represent you. May God bless you and your household. May God bless this constituency of St. George North. And may God bless our great nation, Barbados. Good night, and God bless you.